What's up, everybody? Noble Comics here, and today I want to talk about Superman. I know on my channel, Superman typically does not get a ton of love, but I do really like the character, and I've talked about in previous videos, I do know a lot about Superman. I'm a big Superman fan, and in fact, I do think that he is the greatest superhero of all time. I don't think he's the greatest character, and he's definitely not my favorite superhero, but I think he is the greatest superhero of all time. In previous videos, I've talked about comic books being America's folklore, and if that is the case, then I think Superman is the first or one of the first of that folklore and probably the best, right? Because at the beginning, he was just this hero, right? He was more powerful than a locomotive, faster than a speeding bullet, and could leap tall buildings in a single bound. And that's really all he had to be. He was a hero, and he did the right thing, and he had fantastical abilities, and I think that's really where his character works the best. Since then, obviously, we've gotten a ton of history on the character, probably way more than we need. The whole Kryptonian, the last son of Krypton, and that whole, cosmology has been so expanded, and his life here on Earth has been so expanded in different ways, in different timelines and stuff like that. And as far as I can tell, that really only serves to muddle the character and who the character is and kind of muddle what we like about Superman and makes him worse off. I think Superman works the very best when he is treated as the simple character that he is. Sure, he's an alien, whatever, but at his core, the very simplest core of Superman, he's just a guy from Kansas who does the right thing, right? That he's this good person. I think that is the character, and that's what really sells. I think the best way you see this is the Fleischer Superman animated series from the 40s, which you can find on YouTube, and it really holds up. It's fantastic. And also Grant Morrison's All-Star Superman, which is probably the greatest Superman graphic novel ever written. It's definitely worth reading, or you can watch the movie as well, and it's pretty good also. But I do think whenever we get into the character and we're looking at the character sort of as comic book fans and we do the power scaling and we do the all that stuff, Superman really loses what makes him special, right? Because then at that point, what's the difference between him and the 1,000 other Superman clones? Because we're just looking at it as like a storyline and a power set versus sort of this icon and this ideal of a character, which, in my opinion, again, is what makes him so great and so special and also makes him so American, right? Because I think there is a certain part of the American people and the American psyche that is striving towards a greater ideal and being unified not just by blood, because again, Superman is not human, being unified by a set of ideals. And I believe that he is a great representation of that. Also, Superman, when you try and make him more complicated, doesn't work either in terms of personality. Superman is not a character who changes over time and who changes over storylines. Superman is a character who has the world change around him and he stays rock solid because he's already at his peak as far as like his personality and his beliefs go. There's nowhere else for him to go. He's already at the top. It can be interesting to look at different versions of this, right? Take Omni-Man, take Homelander, Supreme, Sentry, all these other spin-off Superman characters who are slightly different or they're not pure. They're like, what if a regular dude had superpowers and he'd turn out like this? It's like, I get that that can be interesting. But the core character of Superman, I think, has to be devoid of these human flaws, but is still human. Because I think part of his idea, right, is that absolute power does not corrupt absolutely. Because even though he's the most powerful person on the planet, he's still a good person. And not just like good for the sake of maintaining his image or good because it's convenient, but he's like a genuinely pure-hearted person in every aspect. Which again, is that unrealistic? Sure. But he is supposed to be an ideal, which I mentioned before. He as a character embodies something grander than what we can achieve here, right? Superman is unreachable. He is perfect. But like any ideal, it's supposed to be unreachable. But it is worth striving towards because he embodies everything that a man should be or that a strong person should be, right? He protects the weak. He uses his strength and his power for good. He's completely selfless. He doesn't do anything for his own personal gain. He's genuinely just there to help other people, and he's always there when you need him. And I think that he does sort of have, especially as that idea has grown out, sort of a Christ-like image, and I think that's definitely intentional. You even hear the way that people talk about Superman, even in the animated stuff or in the comics, they say stuff like that, like how people would talk about Jesus, right? Like it'll all be okay. He has our back. He'll always be there for me. We don't have to worry. And instead of, this being a prayer, it's an actual physical superhero who is there to make sure that nothing bad happens to you, right? You can put your faith in him. And though it doesn't happen often where Superman comes up against an enemy that he can't just overpower immediately, when he is sort of pushed and he starts to feel a little more human, when he's getting beat up or whatever, he does never give up, right? He doesn't just run away because it's like the first time he's felt pain, he's going to run away. Like he gets it. He has that human, and again, I think that distinctly American fight in him where he's not going to give up. He's going to give it all. He's going to overcome whatever challenge is in front of him, whether it's, an alien or, a different dimensional being, whatever it is, he's going to beat it. Though I do think that it works best, again, if we're going back to, say, the 40s era, where it's like he's fighting different contraptions and machines that are pushing his limit, and he's not quite as powerful as he is in the modern day. Because at a point, I think Superman can get too powerful, and I think he's getting to that point now where he's just too powerful to be at all relatable. And it's not like he was super relatable right at the beginning completely, but there was a hint of him there that, again, is very human. But whenever he gets too powerful, right, he's less like Jesus and he's more like God, right? He's less human, more just all powerful. And especially when they're trying to take him down this path of being like a sixth dimensional imp or whatever, he becomes more of the distant, omnipotent watcher rather than a more personal human savior type character. But again, to my main point, whenever you take Superman, the purest and most simplest version of the character, which I think that 40s version really hit the nail on the head, that is the greatest incarnation of Superman that there is. And when he is that character, he is without a doubt the greatest superhero of all time. No one even really comes close. And you may disagree with me. Let me know if you do. But I think that Superman is as popular as he is for a reason. And I think the reason is this foundation he had was so strong and so impactful and resonated so much with the readers that his entire history, right, was built off of it. And again, I think we've strayed somewhat from that origin and from that character, but at its core, that's who Superman is, right? Just this good person from Kansas, technically, right? Alien from outer space, but none of that really matters because at the end of the day, he's just a guy trying to do the right thing.